This one's called Blood Feast 1963. This is going to be another Herschell Gordon Lewis, David F. Friedman collaboration. Adrian asked me to do a review this one. I had reviewed it actually 10 years ago on Yahoo Movies before they vaporized it for all time. Even the memory hole can't recover my movie reviews from that far back. So here I am. I watched it a second time 10 years later. Brought back some memories. I remember being both disappointed and shocked by this movie, but I'm still giving it 5 out of 5 stars for some of the scenes. They're just way crazy. And the scenes that come to mind when I'm talking about this flick are the flashback to 5,000 years ago when they do blood sacrifice to the goddess Ishtar. It's not even Egyptian, she's Sumerian. So it's southern Iraq, not Egypt. It's goddess Ishtar. And there are a lot of other mistakes in this movie. For instance, there's a lack of continuity, day-night kind of Ed Wood Plan 9 kind of deal. When they're the police officer and the Playboy playmate Blondie, the socialite's daughter, are sitting in the convertible. It looks like day, and then the next scene, cut looks like nighttime. So it's very confusing. Didn't really understand why Herschell Gordon Lewis made it so cheap looking. Even the socialite's home looks cheap, but I guess he was really good at making low cost, low budget drive-in movies and turning a profit on it. Unfortunately, he got busted for fraud using his movies as collateral for fake business called car rental business, as well as a phony abortion referral service business. So he spent 3 years in prison, and I suspect that's why he changed careers around 1970. Started writing marketing books and started doing all this big shot marketing stuff, which he's more proud of than his movies from the 60s. So he also has this guilty pleasure kind of weakness for KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Kind of an interesting guy, but he's one of my favorite directors of all time. He did a lot of So Bad That They're Good type movies. I can't list them all because if I look them up, it's going to cut off my video. But there's a lot of cool kind of nudie flicks that he did. Monster A Go-Go, which has a reputation for being one of the worst movies ever made, is also a great movie. There's the I just can't think of all the movie names off the top of my head, but a lot of great movies that he did. Um, he's right up there with some of the other guys that have a reputation for being bad actors, but they made a lot of movies that were so bad that they were good. Don Dohler and Ed Wood Jr. come to mind. Edward D. Wood Jr., to be more precise. But getting back to the movie, so this guy Fuad Ramsey's played by Mal Arnold, who's a regular in a lot of Herschell Gordon movies, or maybe just a couple. He he's got his hair dyed gray to make him look old, but he doesn't really look old. And he goes around with his machete doing gruesome murders on young ladies so that he can prepare a feast for Ishtar, the socialite, the playboy playmate Blondie's mother, planning a party for her. And so he goes to Fuad Ramsey, and Fuad Ramsey's says some nonsense about how he's gonna serve a feast from 5,000 years ago in ancient Egypt, which is total nonsense. And like staring in her eyes, and he says, "Have you ever had an Egyptian feast?" That line is pretty good. One of my favorite scenes, and he's got his eyes bugged out, and he's like hypnotizing her into doing it, having this blood feast cater deal. And there are some gruesome scenes in this, like he's pulling out this lady's tongue, and she's just laying down, letting him do it. It's pretty gross. The scene where the police discover the young girl's body mutilated and laid out on the table, that was pretty gross. The blood splattered all over her body. Looks like tomato soup, but still pretty gross. And the flashback scene to 5,000 years ago, like doing the blood sacrifice to Ishtar. That was pretty cool. They got the hirsute eyebrows guy doing the blood sacrifice. It's pretty bizarre and low budget looking, and it's what makes this movie such a great cult movie, despite all the inane dialogue, bad acting by a bunch of playboy playmates, and editing issues, like I mentioned. It's hard to keep track of what they're saying, but watching it a second time, I did pick up on something that I didn't realize earlier. This Fuad Ramsey tricks the women into doing some kind of fraudulent mail order, which is probably something that Herschell Gordon Lewis put into the story, because he himself was engaged in fraud that landed him 3 years in prison, ended his movie career essentially. And I guess he's ashamed of it, because like I said, he's more proud of his marketing accomplishments than he is of his exploitation movie career. So the Fuad Ramsey character, in a way, is kind of like the director Herschell Gordon Lewis. at least in terms of committing fraud, which is something that I didn't picked up the first time I saw this movie. So, sorry, there were some hotel guests walking by. It's quite busy today. I think there are 73 cars down there, and they're still doing construction on these rooms. Anyways, sorry for the delay effect there. Getting back to the movie, so the murders continue. The two detectives are like Keystone cops trying to find the killer. They don't have any clues. There's another great line that's in the Something Weird. The beginning of each Something Weird video, the guy says, well, Frank, looks like it's going to be another long, hard one. And there's another great line towards the end where the socialite says, oh, I guess we have to serve the guests hamburgers tonight. Pretty funny stuff. And so the murders continue, more gruesome blood stuff. Herschell Gordon Lewis is called the Godfather of Gore, which is also a title given to Luci Fucci. So I find that title kind of not really meaningful, but a lot of people believe it, I guess, especially on YouTube. Like I said, there was a sequel, Blood Feast 2, All You Can Eat, and I did a movie review a bunch of years back. It must have been like I don't know, 6 years ago. I think I did that review, and I posted the link in the comments section. One of my videos that had a lot of back and forth comments with Adrian. It mentions the 1960 Japanese movie that portrays, I guess, Buddhist hell. There's like decapitations and stuff. Pretty cool stuff. I want to get that movie on my Netflix queue. I got House on there, the 1977 Japanese movie. So I'm pretty excited about that. I got one. I got Amityville 2 on my Netflix queue, and something else that Adrian recommended. I forget the name of it. Oh wow. Ledmore or something like that. And then I'll put Diary of a Cannibal on there too. In addition to the sequel, there are a couple of remakes. One's called Blood Diner, which isn't even available on Netflix. And also the Blood Feast remake, more recent, is just called Blood Feast. And it's unavailable on Netflix. I had to put on my save queue, so that was kind of bummer. But what else can I say about Herschell Gordon Lewis? I guess I said enough. I mean, he's one of my favorite directors, but I just learned about the fraud stuff, and just doing some more research on him. They never talk about it in the DVD extras, so I thought I'd mention it. Kind of an obscure little tidbit. And great flick. I'll post the trailer in the description box. I believe you can watch the movie on Daily Motion. So I'll post a link to that. And David F. Friedman and Herschell Gordon Lewis basically did everything on this movie. So I'll give them credit for that in the description box as well. What else? Oh, I got Ark of the Sun God to watch. It's kind of like Raiders of the Lost Ark 007 kind of ripoff movie. I'm not really looking forward to it, but I don't know. Give it a shot. And then I'll wait for Avenging Angel to arrive next week. I'll review that for Adrian. Probably won't be until a week from today, though. Or actually 8 days from today. So I went on this job interview on Thursday, and now I know why they rejected my application. So the guy kind of acted like a jerk to me, the interviewer guy, towards the end of the interview. And it happened after I mentioned that I have to watch my son pretty much all day on Sunday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. So I couldn't work that day. And I got the impression like it's mandatory to work on Sunday. So I told him, I could do graveyard on Sunday. And he goes, "Oh, are you sure you want to do that?" And I guess graveyard is kind of beside the point because you only get 4 hours on Sunday. For graveyard, or is it 2 hours? I guess it's 10 to 6. Yeah, 10 to 6. So they're only 2 hours on Sunday. And he probably wants me to work a full 8 hours. So at the end of the interview, he said, "Well, I'm going to talk to other candidates, but I'll let you know my decision within the next 24 to 48 hours," which was a lie. He never called me back. So I called him this afternoon to remind him. And he made some nonsense excuse about it.
Good morning.
Hi.
That's
May I help you, sir?
I need a car.
I'm sorry?
I need a trolley.
A trolley? You're checking in?
I'm delivering.
Yes. Next time, if you could park closer to the pillars, I'd appreciate it. Because you're blocking my driveway, sir. Anyways, this guy people just park here and they think they can block the driveway. It's kind of ridiculous.
See you later.
Thank you. Have a good night. Sorry about that. I guess there was a delay there. This guy was interrupting me for no apparent reason. I'm gonna drop off some luggage, park right in front of me, which is kind of ridiculous, but it happens all the time here. Anyways, So I call up this dude. He makes all kinds of excuses like, oh, your experience doesn't match what I was looking for, which is BS. I knew it was, and I told him I had van driving experience, which is what the job title is essentially. I mean, there's some minor bicycle repair, which he said he'd provide training for. And so that explanation didn't make sense. Then he came up with some nonsense that I wasn't a good match, which I told him I didn't really understand that either. But I thanked him for the interview. I said bye, and that was the end of it. So that job didn't really have any parking in front of the building, and so I wasn't looking forward to having the problem of getting to work and not having a parking spot in San Francisco. But the pay was pretty decent, at least as it was advertised, and so I didn't get a third job, but I managed to pay all my bills through July 1st, no, July 2nd. And if it wasn't for summer vacation with my son, I wouldn't have had to dip into my money market account. Yeah, I transferred about $900, something like that. So that was kind of disappointing, but it's supposed to be for emergencies and stuff. But anyways, I did what I had to do. It's part of my role as a parent, I guess, making a sacrifice for my son. He doesn't realize it, but he's only 8, so I don't expect him to. Hopefully he'll remember. I told him about that Blood Feast movie, and he got grossed out by it. And I can't really expect too much from my son. And I wanted to take him to a newer movie, but he just wants to see a cartoon movie. I don't think he wants to see Incredibles 2 either. So he's kind of picky about movies. He doesn't want to go to Stanford Theater or Castro Theater. This guy that I work with, he loves to shake the machine. One day it's going to fall on top of him. Death by vending machine. I told him that, and he doesn't care. He keeps shaking these machines. Anyways, that's about all I have to say. I tried sending a message to a 39-year-old Brazilian on Apple. I guess she's too busy, like she can't respond. It's just kind of disappointing. I'm thinking of going on Tinder and just starting sending messages to my matches, but I'll give her another shot next week. We'll see how that goes, and hopefully she'll come to breakfast with us next Friday. That's about it. Yeah, I just want to get that review in for Adrian. Hopefully I covered the bases. And great flick. It's not the first gore movie. I don't think so. Like I said, there was that 1960 Japanese movie, and I don't understand how there can be two godfathers of gore, both Herschell Gordon Lewis and Luci Fucci. So that's a little confusing to me, but maybe Adrian can comment if I said something wrong, or my memory's bad. Sorry about that. I tried to remember as many things as I could from the first time I saw it 10 years ago, but I was glad I saw it again. Like I said, I caught the mail order fraud weird ancient rights book that Fawad Ramses wrote. He has some kind of fake mail order that he uses to lure his victims, which is kind of what Herschell Gordon Lewis did, and not that extreme, but still enough to land him 3 years in jail, which seems kind of short for fraud. I mean, fraud is a pretty serious crime, but I guess he had a good lawyer that Herschell Gordon Lewis could probably afford it with all the profits on his movies. Anyways, I think he made Lucky Pierre for like 7,000 or something, and end up tripling his money on that investment. So pretty shrewd business person. Unfortunately, he crossed the line. I actually worked for somebody like that. And they're having the same issues with fraud and stuff. So kind of interesting character, that Herschell Gordon Lewis. Definitely a unique person in terms of his career. And a lot of people love him, like John Waters and that Canadian director, I forget his name. The guy who had the porn actress, Herschell Gordon Lewis, both in his movies. What's her name? Like Sasha Grey or something. I forget her name. She's kind of pretty, and I saw her naked, but she looks better with her clothes on, I guess. Anyways, she has something interesting to say about 9/11 and the dollar bill. Kind of an interesting character herself. Yeah, I guess that's about it. Did I cover all the bases in this movie? I think I did, pretty much. Didn't want to spoil the ending. It's a strange ending. I don't know why the actors are like, they know they're doomed to something, and yet they just kind of accept it, like it's going to happen. And kind of strange, but cool flick. When I first saw it, I was going to give it 4 out of 5 stars, because much the same rating as I gave the sequel, but I don't know, some of the scenes are just kind of low budget surrealism kind of thing. So I have to give it 5 out of 5 just for that. Pretty cool stuff. Let's see it in my review later.